Hey Taurus, the celestial skies are clear in your sign tonight, and so we've got the Hedonist out as a significator tonight. And I thought that was pretty fitting, given that it is the beginning of the harvest season. So happy Lughnasadh. And so we have the Empress and the Hierophant out on the table here. And the Empress came out reversed. So I'm going to utilize that as the shadow aspect of the Hedonist. And then the Hierophant came out upright, so that'll be in the light side. And so hedonism, I mean, in a nutshell, that's pleasure for pleasure's sake. So very Venusian, Venusian? I think it's Venusian on the pronunciation. But with the beginning of that harvest season, there could be a focus on material comforts. That could be like a soft blanket, a fluffy pillow, good food, intimacy, things like that. And so let's start with the hedonist, just down the middle, which I actually think is the most balanced expression of the Taurus archetype because you're walking down the middle of being overly strict, really like rigid belief systems and things like that, and maybe not subject to the same kind of responsibility that the Empress has on her plate. And so that's really a full expression of self without having to sacrifice for others. So let's start here with the hedonist and get a card. First card for the hedonist. And I guess I could read these attributes here. So the light attributes, it says, inspires creative energy to embrace the good things in life, celebrates the beauty in yourself. And shadow attributes, pursues pleasure to the detriment of health, indulges at the expense of others. So this could be, I think, first and foremost, since we're doing an archetype reading, to evaluate that from the position of self. Like, what are these aspects within me? And then there's also the consideration of, is there anyone around you who maybe is doing something to your detriment at your expense? And when you're dealing with the Hierophant or the Empress, these are, and really the Hierophant is in reference to bigger systems like religious institutions, governing bodies, things like that. But the Empress, I mean, she's ruling an empire. Um, and in many depictions, particularly the Rider Waite, she's pregnant in that card, so about to be responsible for a lot, literally and figuratively. And so we have the Daughter of Pentacles here in the hedonist position. That's the Page of Pentacles. And I like the nice little rainbow there. And even though she's a page, I'm feeling a full array of experiences, understanding the necessity in hedonism and rejecting that like taboo connotation towards it because, like, you know, we die at the end, right? Like, enjoy life while you're here. And even if your belief system includes reincarnation, like the way that I see it is I have one chance at this iteration of myself. When I return to the waiting room of souls, then I'll be fundamentally different than I am now because like my consciousness is dependent on this vessel. So I don't know, enjoy it while you can. But let's expand on the Daughter of Pentacles. She looks very alert. Not not like worried, just you're not going to catch her sleeping, you know? Oh, here we go. Ooh, and this is Eight of Wands in reverse. And there's another rainbow, like a rainbow lightning. So the Eight of Wands upright, that's like quick movement, incoming messages, maybe even impulsive action. In reverse, I'm feeling well thought out action, but it's still like a lightning strike. Like it still has a like an impulsive quality to it, even though that's not the causal factor. And part of what may be contributing to that lightning strike quality is that this is the Daughter of Pentacles. That whatever is being referenced here just wasn't expected out of a fawn. Very surprising. But what is it? What is this regarding? I'm really drawn to this like cornucopia she has here. Hmm. I mean, that really fits the theme of the harvest season. One more. What is this situation? So we've got earth and fire. Hmm. And that just makes me think of like a forest fire, like lightning striking and then having far reaching effects. And hmm, that is a little bit of a complicated thought. Um, when you think of a forest fire that was started, just by natural causes, like due to what's happening in the environment right now, we don't point the finger at the lightning. We are pointing the finger at climate change, where it rightfully should be pointed for how, like, why is this so severe? Like, why did things escalate to this point? And, there's the warming trends that expands the territory of the beetles and all that stuff. But we've got the Three of Wands and the Justice card. And the way this one is depicted, this is the Wild Unknown Tarot. This is like a portal. I was just yammering about like who to point the finger at in reference to the forest fire. This almost seems like a perception because we have the rainbow in the center, but it's clouding the entire view. Whereas in these two cards, it's only a really small portion. And maybe following with the like the beetle analogy, expanding their territory and whatnot, maybe something's getting blown out of proportion, meaning it didn't have to get that bad. It's like with the climate change, it's not like we didn't know this was coming. It's not like year after year after year we haven't had climate scientists like ringing the alarm bell going, hey, this continues to get worse. Are we going to do anything about that or just wait for catastrophic failure? It appears to be the latter, unfortunately. But the Justice card, things getting this bad, almost feels like a wrath of nature of, this was avoidable and you ignored it. And that's just like where the thought train ends. There's really not much else to say about that because it's not like we didn't have the models. It's not like we didn't know. This almost seems like with the hedonist, there's some radical acceptance here of, well, we can't change what we did, and now here we are. And so now I suppose the decision is, do we go to the shadow or do we go to the light? I'm going to see what happens over on the light side. So the Hierophant, let's get the first card for that. Or even, I want to get one of these, the Oracle of the Radiant Sun. Just a little more granularity in details about this situation. What's this forest fire about? Or the Justice. What is the Justice? That feels like more on the nose. There we go. Romance. Oh, Venus in Taurus. Okay, so this is... I actually think that's the most important part. Is that it's coming out really synchronous with the theme. So it's not like be careful what you wish for. It's just like you reap what you sow. That this, whatever this is, because the Three of Wands is the beginning of a journey. This almost seems like an inevitability, like Finding Nemo. I live in an anemone. Sound like a car stalling out. But this is like, what were you expecting to happen? This isn't even like the definition of insanity where you're doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. It's just you got where the result that the effort was applied to. I think that's why the thread on this is stopping so abruptly. Is just like, what do you expect? So first card for the Hierophant. Zooming that. What's going on the light side? And here in the Wild Unknown tarot, kind of like the Crow tarot, you really emphasize this presence of a key. What's the key? Oh, there we go. That was the right question. Seven of Swords in reverse, a truth revealed. Because in the upright, Seven of Swords is deceit, and we've got a little fox here. And in the traditional depiction of the Seven of Swords, that's someone who, like the person who's sneaking off with the five swords and leaving two behind, yes, they are stealing, but the context of that thievery is that they're taking weapons from the warring camp, and then ultimately they prevail in the battle that starts at dawn because the warring camp doesn't have their weapons. So, yes, it's deceptive, but it's being deceptive for the greater good. And that's an interesting combination with the Hierophant. And since this is the Hierophant represents religious institutions, this could be maybe even protecting your religious or spiritual beliefs from someone who's really judgy in your vibe somewhere. Like, I've got some religious trauma in my background, so I understand that you might need to protect those beliefs in secrecy in order to continue practicing. Otherwise, receive the vitriol of a caregiver. And that does stack onto the, well, what did you expect? Like, if I can't be honest with you and can't just come to you outright and have a straight up, like, grown up conversation with you, yeah, I might engage in deceivery. Like, there has to be a high road for me to take. Like, it can't just completely leave the being constructive up to me. That has to be a two-way street. Let's get another card. What is this truth revealed? Oh, maybe you're trying to be honest with somebody about some sort of system in your life, something that isn't working for you. Take that as a yes. Mother of Cups, Queen of Cups. Yeah, I'm reading this as like keeping a lid on emotions, because the Queen of Cups is a nurturing individual, and in the Rider Waite, the goblet or chalice that she has a lid on it. It's very ornate. And here, the looks like a swan. The swan is protecting a cup with her wing, so it's not completely like closed off like in the other depiction, but it's not unguarded. So it's like you're withholding some emotion. Or I know on several readings recently, I had talked about the art of detachment. So it could be that a truth is being revealed, or you're trying to speak your truth and keep the emotions at a low simmer. Because in this imagery here in the Hierophant, this crow's like all ruffled, like feathers, all poofed up, and there's lightning. Like it's very dramatic. So it seems like there's hubbub about. But about what? That was many. Just taking the bottom one. The Hermit. Hubbub about you living your life? That's dumb. Like, why? Why can't people just mind their business? uh, I don't know. I am conflicted on, like, people talk about being solitary in this really negative light, as if the person keeping to themselves is like unwell or like this and that. And while that may be true, there's also other instances where they might be surrounded by jerks. Like there's the, question the author of the statement. If somebody is pulling away from their social circle, why are we pointing the finger at them going, something's wrong with you, and not taking a broader look at the people around them going, how are you treating this person that's pulling away from you? That seems like a much better question. And I mean, maybe both really need to be asked, but that was my experience when I was younger, was when there was something quote unquote wrong with my behavior, the finger was always pointed at me. There was never any kind of evaluation of my caregivers of like, hey, why don't any adults go to your home? Why do you always go other places? That's a bit odd. And your daughter's super angry all the time. Why is that happening? Like, mm, if that did happen, which I'm really highly suspect of the times that it didn't, just, I mean, the the years that it was, I don't know. I really don't think that was evaluated properly. Let's get one of these here. And I didn't have the vocabulary or really the ability to advocate for myself, being a minor at the time, of like, to be in a safe place to speak up, like, hey, are you sure you're pointing the finger or evaluating the right person? Like, why is it always me? Why am I the problem consistently? I'm not raising me, or at least I wasn't supposed to be. Yeah, speculation. Jupiter in Cancer and affair. Venus in Leo. That's an interesting combination. And I just got this affair card for the last like reel or short that I did about verifying that what you're hearing is true. So that's a really interesting like theme continuation of not only for you, the querent, to verify information that you receive if it's true or not before acting on it, but the people around you going like, hey, did we just take things at face value about this vulnerable person? And on the speculation card here, we've got an- antimonium. Isn't that what Wolverine is made out of? adamantium. That's what it is. Vitriol, Wismat, don't know what that is, and sulfur. The vitriol and sulfur are really catching my attention. Because sulfur, of course, we think about um, like brimstone and hellfire and all those things when you think of sulfur, but it's really good for your skin. I used to use sulfur masks when I was struggling with acne, but it smells like garbage. So it's deceptive on the surface of, yeah, it might smell like eggs and it kind of leaves a lingering um, perfume in your pores. But it helps like get stuff out, like purge your pores of things that are gumming up the works. Hmm, interesting. So maybe there could be some value in watching that little reel. I think I titled it Challenges, something like that. So the Empress in reverse. And interesting that this is a tree, because there are three major arcana cards that are a tree in this deck: the Empress, the Emperor, and the Tower. Hmm. First card for the Empress. Going on in the shadow side. So this is the doing things to the detriment of others. Because, I mean, she's an Empress. She's got, and, take the pronouns with a grain of salt. We all have the yin and yang, the animus and the anima within us. But she's the ruler. She's got significant responsibilities. So if she becomes distorted in that shadow energy, that could be, bad news bears for her subjects. And so we've got the Four of Swords and the Three of Swords both in reverse. And this is a very well shuffled deck. This was my first tarot deck. So that was been a minute. And this is the Pascal's lamb, the Passover lamb. And then the swords all bound together. It's interesting. Because in the upright, the Four of Swords is typically talked about like the rest card, but it's also prayer. It could be deep contemplation. This could be acting without thinking. And Passover, I mean, if you know the story of that, you know what the lamb was necessary for. And so this could represent hasty, permanent action. But the Three of Swords in reverse, that's a lot more positive than its upright meaning, because in the upright, that's heartbreak, really deep, deep sorrow. This is, I want to say, like getting to the bottom of these wounds, of like the root of the shadow of what causes you to act in a hasty manner. Let's get another one. And swords being mental energy, that's very, very heady. It's like something that's stuck in our craw, like we're just ruminating about, is putting us in our shadow or putting someone in their shadow. This almost feels like an external. And just the reason for that is these represent like really big structures to me. And big life events too, in the instance of the Empress, where she's depicted as being pregnant. Nope, he hesitated. No, I want a flipper, please. I want to be sure. Oh, maybe hesitation led to, yeah, uh, being in the shadow, like mental hesitation, analysis paralysis. We've got the Four of Pentacles and a Three of Pentacles. Okay. So hmm, that's really specific. Three and a four, three and a four. But the Four of Pentacles in the upright, that's control. Being like kind of miserly. And the baby emperor, the wannabe emperor, someone who desires the kingdom, but so tightly is tightly bound to material gain, things like that. They can't relinquish control enough to allow flow to occur. And the Three of Pentacles in reverse, that's teamwork that isn't working, that it's not gelling, the group isn't jiving. So, well, and this could be a 777, seven Scorpion Tarot. We got, three and a four, three and a four. So, I don't know. Take that for what you will. Hasty action. Oh, I wonder if hasty action was taken to try and quicken the healing of a wound. I feel like that flame just got a little bit bigger too. Taking that as a yes. So hasty action taken to try and heal a wound faster, which like you can't make, if you break a bone, it grows back together, like it mends itself as it mends itself. You can't speed up that process. You can, tend to the soreness and do whatever your doctor said to do to keep you the most ready for when you are healed. But it's like trying to control everything has led to the mountain being turned upside down, of like we were trying to climb the mountain, as a team, but now things are so screwed up, we're under the mountain. And all because of control issues. And control issues are something that I've struggled with in perpetuity. uh, it's an ongoing thing. And for me, that was a trauma response of I'm doing anything and everything I can to try and control my environment to prevent additional trauma from occurring. Not possible. You just have to do the best you can, and there's just an element of chaos to life that it is what it is. So we've got companionship, and that popped out like right as I was talking about chaos and inheritance. What? The companionship is the moon in Libra, and inheritance is Saturn in Scorpio. That's a that's a tough placement. And hmm, Icarus is what's coming to mind right now. Because most of the time when we talk about Icarus and hubris, we only get half of the story. We get the second half, where, I mean, really the last third. Um, but where he flew too close to the sun. That's like the lesson of Icarus, and then his wings melted and he fell into the sea. The second third is that his father told him to fly like perfectly between the sky and the sea, to stay on the straight and narrow on this one path, to basically stay in his lane. The first third, Icarus's father is the architect of the labyrinth, that where the Minotaur was housed. So Icarus was raised in total darkness. So the first real opportunity he got at light, he was off straight to the sun because he wasn't given enough flexibility to explore, to be himself. So that's that control element, that his father did everything in his power to keep Icarus safe by keeping him confined. And it ended up turning into a self fulfilling prophecy of straight into the sun. That, can you really blame him? I mean, think of how lonely Icarus must have been, because it's not like he was spending all this time with his father. His father was working on the labyrinth, so he was busy. So Icarus was just a prisoner, just brought in this world to exist. No kid should have to go through anything like that. They need the freedom to explore, to be themselves, and to make mistakes, that are going to cause some wounds. They're probably going to get cut from it. Kids bounce back pretty fast. It's once you start rapidly approaching middle age that you're like, oh, I was fine today, and then I slept, and now I can't turn my neck to the left, or turn my head to the left, rather. But what's the direction? Because this feels almost like we're coming back to the center here of, like, what did you expect? Okay, so what's happening after what did you expect? And the dogs started going crazy. What did you expect to happen? Something noisy around the bend. And I think that did a topsy-turvy. But a celebration. That's Three of Cups. Hmm. Are you going to solve forest fires? And I say solve with a grain of salt. There's the Emperor. Um, but solve with a grain of salt, because forest fires are necessary to, turn things over, create space for new growth, things like that. They've become catastrophic though. Like we're way past the natural cycle. But so the emperor becoming the emperor. Oh, that was almost a flip. Is that, I mean, this is true, but I don't like it. The emperor probably has a better chance at standing up to the Hierophant than the Empress, and it's just because of the Hierophant's perception of the Empress. Like they have a tendency to be very oppressive towards that feminine energy. So this is stepping into that masculine, that yang warrior side of things. Because even though the Emperor is depicted as calm, generally speaking, in like the Rider Waite, he's still wearing bracers under like the regal garb. So yeah, he's relaxed, but he's ready to go at the same time. Just very observant, kind of watching the battlefield, taking in the scenery. So what's this celebration about with the Emperor? I feel like the cards went quiet. What is the celebration about? Nope. Nope, that's two. Come on. I'm not on the right question. Oh, maybe. Maybe not. So we have the Six of Wands, the victory card. Oh no, that's the Six of Swords. That's a journey. Celebrating a journey and going on a journey. Oh, interesting. Son of Pentacles. We started out with the Daughter of Pentacles. And this body language of this deer has always reminded me of like the Five of Cups in this deck. Because it's like a really sad looking horse. So in reverse, I feel like this journey is coming in soon because the Knight of Pentacles is the slowest knight in the deck. And in reverse, now he's got some giddy up and go. Now he's got a reason to move it. Let's get one more of these. What's this journey about? Discovery. Mercury in Sagittarius. Wow, that's very sagacious. That's not how you say that. Sage? But there's the sarcophagus there. Maybe you're going on some sort of big trip. And that actually looks like the boats in Louisiana. Which, if you've never been to New Orleans, highly recommend checking out the scenery, the music scene, the food scene, the history scene. It's just an incredible place. So, something big after that, like, what did you expect? And you're stepping into your Emperor energy, really balancing out both sides of the hedonist. Wow. Big deal, Taurus. Let's get a song, and we'll get you on your way. Pisces, Ginger. Oh, and one more. Frozen pizza and movie night. Trying to think of what came out recently, like movie wise. I don't know. Maybe you just want to pick a favorite, maybe a feel good movie. Go with that Venusian energy, something that makes you feel cozy. Lord of the Rings just came to mind. Very, at least at the beginning, cozy atmosphere there in, why am I blanking on where the hobbits live? The Shire. So, whatever makes you feel comfortable and plentiful, because it is the beginning of the harvest season. So, something that, even if you have been going through a really difficult situation where you've been kept down, getting out of that mindset of feeling like you're under someone's thumb, even if you are, giving yourself an opportunity to step away from it, that, maybe even if it's just for tonight, I'm free. So, overall, I hope this helps. I hope this resonates. And if it doesn't, I hope the next one does. Thank you so much.